for tonight's race. First out onto the track will be Mike Garvey in the 38. Mike actually had an interesting practice. His drive shaft broke and came actually up in the cab, tore up a little sheet metal, so they had to go to work during those two practices to get that fixed.
Yeah, I don't think Mike even made it back on the racetrack. That was his first time out. Obviously, when something like that happens, it's usually because something was done wrong, and I think that's the issue. So he never even got a lap on the racetrack.
Yeah, and when one of those drive shafts tries to come in the cockpit with you, that'll get your attention. First of all, it scares you to death, and then it starts beating around inside the truck. You're thinking, how'd something get in here with me?
Well, we always hear drivers talking about, I feel a vibration. And sometimes they'll say, I think it could be in the drivetrain. You know, maybe potentially that drive shaft. Well, I'll bet that vibration got his attention.
Well, it stopped vibrating shortly after it broke in two and came up into the cab.
Success at,
we're going back
at, so hopefully we can turn it around for the race and have another top 10 finish.
The Germain Racing team has been so good on mile and a halves. Does this track drive at all like that, or is it different?
You know, this track is a unique animal. It's a real, whoever built, I know the owners of most tracks don't know who built Nashville, but whoever built the Nashville Superspeedway, I want to give them a big hug, because no other track in the country like it. Concrete, mile and what, a quarter, a mile and a third. Just unique in every way, so it's really, really fun to race. It makes a great night for us.
All right, we wish you good luck. Hope your guys got that thing dialed in for you. Now let's go back up top to the guys.
Thanks, Ray. Mike Garvey on the racetrack now for his qualifying session. Again, the first one out, and he'll set the mark at 34.518 in his first lap.
You know, we talk all the time about how many different pole sitters we're going to have during the session. Mike's going to mess this up a little bit, I'm afraid. He's going to keep us from setting a record, maybe, Phil, because that truck looks good. You can see it's got a good attitude on the track. I think he can really run a good lap here. Do you agree?
Remember now, he hasn't had a lap on the racetrack yet.
I know, but he's good.
He is good. He is good. Right now, it looked like that first lap he went in turn one. You see a little bit of tire smoke there. Went in turn one that first lap and went way up the hill.
I will let you know that Mike Garvey just ran a 33.484 on his second lap. And that actually would be better than the next three that were able to get out on the track for practice. So he might be able to hang on to that spot for a couple positions.
What do you think? I mean, I don't think he's going to set on the pole or nothing. I'm just saying he ran, that truck looked good and he ran a good lap. I think it was a strong lap for Mike.
Do you think Chris Laferty's going to beat him?
I'm just wondering if I need to step in between you two right now. There's already some animosity going.
Absolutely
the
not.
The first truck is already gone. Chris Laferty on the racetrack now. He was 33rd quick. Again, we have 34 trucks on site. He was 33rd quick at a 37.494 in practice. We'll see if he's able to better what Mike Garvey put up at 33.484.
He's got this. Mike Garvey's all over this guy.
I think he's got to beat.
Oh, yeah. I got a couple seconds to spare.
We don't typically talk about having a couple seconds.
No, NASCAR racing is very competitive, and you know, when you see these first trucks, they struggle a little bit, Phil. You can see the difference in the truck here of Chris Laferty. The front end just doesn't have that attitude that we saw with Garvey's truck, so you got to feel like maybe that he can't. It's not Chris Laferty's fault. His truck just isn't set up properly, so therefore he can't match that speed, I don't think.
And Lafferty's truck looks as though it's rolling over on the right side, where we see most of the front ends sealed down to the racetrack.
Yeah, you just take a look at that truck, and then in about a half hour or so, when you see these cats that are going to be shooting for the pole, the difference in them.
Lafferty on his second lap, 35.349, so he's second quick of the two trucks that have been on the track.
Remember now, everyone's going to make the field too. We do not have over a full field, so there's no reason for these guys to really put it on the edge. These early trucks, they know they're going to get in, and that's the important thing.
He's definitely not putting it on the edge here. This is the 75 of Mike Harman.
So how many pole sitters so far, Rick?
So far, one.
Yeah.
We're at one. Mike Harman out of Birmingport, Alabama.
Mike Harman had one of the worst wrecks in the history of NASCAR over in Bristol, Tennessee. Back in 1990, I attempted to tear down the wall there and was unsuccessful.
Similar at that.
It looked very similar. I mean, as similar as anything has ever looked to your accident there at Bristol. Fortunately, they fixed that. It's 36.403, lap number one for Mike Harman. Michael, I'm starting to agree with you. That, which is pretty unusual in itself.
Felt pretty good about that statement I made earlier.
Racing hits high gear at one of racing's premier venues, the Brickyard. Tune in as the pilot of the famed 43, A.J. Allmendinger, joins the fun. Don't miss NASCAR Trackside from Indianapolis next Friday, 6 Eastern on speed. Here comes Norm Benning. Now, the reason I said that at the end of the last segment about Norm Benning being the spoiler is Norm normally will go out and run a better lap than he ran in practice, and he normally screws up the fact that we would have 14, 15 different pole winners, and we'll find out if he's able to do it. But he also looks as though he's rolling over on the right side in this 57 truck.
Yeah, he's going to have to pick it up quite a lot to be able to upset not Mike Garvey off the pole, and not quite there on lap 1. 34.207, so about 0.7 of a second off the lap that Garvey ran. Looks like he's done.
Yeah, it'll be one and done, I think, for Norm Benning. But we know that these trucks are going to run as we get towards the faster trucks. Probably a good 3 seconds faster than what Mike Garvey ran on his qualifying lap. So we're going to see some speed here shortly.
Jennifer Joe Cobb, the next to go out on the racetrack, and she was quicker than the lap that Mike Garvey put down. In practice earlier, she was at 33.039.
She might be the first one of those trucks with the speed, Rick. That was a good practice lap for JJ. She's not feeling real good. Bit of congestion or cold that she's dealing with.
Across the stripe as she gets up to speed.
Doesn't look like she's...
She doesn't look up to speed, does she?
You don't feel good. This is really a challenging. I know it looks fairly simple, but Phil, you hit it at the opening. They fill these things up with fuel, put new tires on them. It doesn't feel anything like it.
It's a whole different animal, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've got to be respectful of the speed you're running. Over 150 or 60 miles an hour as you dive down into the turn, man. You can't be going in there sideways.
Yeah, we averaged the fastest practice lap was 156 miles an hour, which means probably, what, 170 probably down on the straightaways?
Looks like Jennifer just getting one in for the records so that she's ready to start the race. Obviously way off the pace there.
Very leisurely, 39.698 for Jennifer Joe Cobb. Ray Dunlap.
Back in NASCAR here. I've seen him around the racetrack some, but haven't seen him in a race vehicle. Good to see him back.
You know, Rick talked about a leisurely ride there for Jennifer Joe, but how about the 100? That's still over 120 miles an hour in a pickup truck.
Yep.
That's hauling the mail.
Brent Raymer now on the racetrack, up to speed in that 65.
I believe Brent might have something for Mike Garvey.
I think Brent's on it here. That makes the lap that Mike Garvey all the more impressive in the fact that he never ran a practice lap.
Yeah, but they did a nice job setting that truck up, Phil. It pulled out on the track. I like the attitude of it. Rick, you spoke about some of these trucks looking like they were rolling over the turns and all lifted up. His truck didn't do that. He put down a decent lap.
Brent Raymer also with a decent lap, almost a second better than Mike Garvey. He goes all the way to the top of the charts.
Yeah, that's faster than he was able to run in practice, and that's your goal as a driver. You want to go out there and run faster than you did when you were practicing when it counts, and Brent was able to pull that off. See if he can pick it up a little bit here on lap 2.
Does that surprise you as the temperature has continued to rise, that guys are able to go out and either match or improve on their practice runs?
That doesn't really surprise me because, you know, these guys, they make a pass at what it's going to take to qualify past like in practice, but they get serious about it now. They want to go out and sit on the pole. You talked earlier, the last 3 races have been won from the pole here, so that tells you how important qualifying is. So they're focused.
And a lot of guys didn't even make a mock qualifying run in practice.
Welcome back. Lucas Deep Clean 200 qualifying here on Speed, your motorsports authority. Now on the racetrack, the 73 of Klay Greenfield. 7th truck on the racetrack.
Klay Greenfield was down in the garage area talking about his chance to race here this weekend. I did a little comedy show over here in Nashville a couple months ago, and he said he came to it, enjoyed it, thought it was funny.
Well, that's cool.
Told me he thought maybe I should keep racing. I don't know which part he was more serious about.
We'll find out how serious he is about this lap. Klay Greenfield, second quick on his first lap.
Needs to pick up about 2/10 to grab the pole. Can he do it?
A little bit quicker, but not quick enough for Klay Greenfield. Brent Raymer still on top of the charts, 32.247. Actually wasn't in the truck for the first practice today, so only made it to the second practice. As we see Johnny Chapman in the 07 on the track now.
Yeah, Nelson wasn't feeling good this morning, so he said just better be on the safe side. Went and got checked out and everything was fine, and he got and ran a lot of laps in that second practice. Actually had a really good truck. You look at a lot of the crew chiefs in the garage area will look at the average lap time throughout the entire practice, and he was top 10. Remember, he's coming off a second place finish here. First time we hear it, had a great run, so looking for a lot out of him here tonight.
Johnny Chapman, that's the fastest first lap we've seen, Phil, 32.53. Pole Center Raymer was able to pick it up on lap 2, but his first lap was a 57, so it'll be interesting to see what Johnny's got.
Well, Johnny has a shot at maybe knocking Brent off that pole. This truck looks pretty good. Look at the attitude. Look at that splitter sealed off to the racetrack there.
He's out of turn number 4. Let's see if he can pick up those 0.2 of a second that he will need to take over that top spot, and he does. 32.176 for Johnny Chapman.
That's quite a bit faster than he was able to run in practice, Phil.
Yeah, nice job by Johnny. Johnny's doing double duty here, so he had a little bit of track time in the Nationwide car that just finished their practice just a few moments ago.
Now on the racetrack, Shane Sieg in the 93 truck. Shane's practice time of 32.064 is the reason he's going out 9th on the track.
You see Shane really high off turn 2 down there. That's the fun thing about this racetrack. The fastest way, it seems, is right down next to that yellow line. But if you can't get there, we talked about compromise. That's these drivers going out, moving around, giving the truck a little bit of room so that they don't get in trouble. And that's exactly what Shane did.
How about first lap? 31.860. So he's 0.2 of a second faster than he practiced on his first lap. Shane gets slotted in that number 1 position.
Shane has run every race this year except Daytona, the first race, and our last race at Iowa. But Daytona, he qualified for the race and stepped out so Cole Witt could get in his truck, and Cole ended up with a good finish. And that's one of the reasons that Cole Witt is where he is in points, I think, right now, 3rd.
And what if James Busher had did that in Phoenix?
If he would have had his average finish this year is about 10th. If he would have finished 10th at Phoenix, he would be in 2nd. 2 points out of the lead right now if he would have finished 10th.
James missed the race out there at Phoenix, didn't get the start like we saw Cole Witt do at Daytona, and it's got him behind in the points. But darn, wouldn't that be something if he could come back and win this championship after missing a race?
Yeah, missing a race and still in our top 10 in points.